Okay, I've also started. Okay, but where can I put this somewhere else? Right. Sorry. Okay, so let's proceed. So everyone is here with us, right? I can still hear some echo. So Ramesh sir, can you put yourself on mute? Thank you, sir. Okay, so let's proceed. So what we were discussing, until now we discussed the data types, basic data types and operators. Okay, what operations can be done on these basic data types. And now we will start looking at some uh, complex data types. Before that, we will understand what variables are and what are the reserved keywords and white space characters. We could see like just a while ago that I had typed keywords here, right? We typed keywords, and then we saw that some list was thrown by this as an output, and we have false or none, pass, raise, return. All of these are some keywords. Let me copy it and let me paste it somewhere. Just for reference, I mean, don't need to do this, but let's keep it. Now you can already see, since this text editor that we're using has Python enabled, right? So it can currently understand whatever is written here and depict it as Python, and accordingly it highlights something, right? Here we can see that all of these numbers are highlighted, right? So so we can see that all of these numbers are highlighted, right? In fact, highlighted in a very different manner, because currently here it should not be like this. I'll just put it like this such that it is a comment right now. So we can see that these are all the keywords that are reserved in Python, right? So we'll come to that. Let's start from here only. So we have variables, reserved keywords, and white space characters. So what are variables, right? Variables are simply, it is also a data type, but it holds value of another data type, right? Variables are assigned values from different classes, I mean different type of data types. For example, we can see that I can define a variable called favorite number and assign a value of 3 to it. Similarly, another variable called company name I can create, and I can assign a string of pxi to it, right? So that is how we define variables, right? Simply, I mean, let's try it also. Okay. So variables, it simply means, I mean, we want to assign a data type to some, thing that changes. Variable itself, as the name suggests, it can vary, right? So the value of a variable can vary. It's just that it holds, you know, more specifically the address of a class, of an object of a class. But in a more easier terms, we can say that it just holds a value. So let's say I define a variable called a, and I want it to hold a value of integer 1, right? So now a equal to 1, right? So what, as I said, that what variable do, they hold value of some other class, right? If they hold value of some other class, then they should have the same class, right? So if I just quickly check what a is, So sorry, right? It said that it is of class int because one was of class int, right? If I say now I'm also calling it a variable, so I can also change its value, right? It is not immutable. I mean, you can change it. So if I say equal to 2, right, you can certainly do that. Now a equal to 2. Now a is not 1, right? But still it is an integer. And if I do type of a, right, I can see that it is an integer. Okay, right. So similarly, whatever and variables you can. So obviously there are some rules as to how you can define a variable, right? I mean, what you can use and what you cannot use to define a variable. But let's not worry about that too much right now, and understand this only how to define it. Right? So variable. So they, always, I mean, variable basically it's a. I mean, here a is a variable, right? If I type ABC equal to, let's say, KBC, right? Here ABC is a variable. ABC is a term is a term that holds the value of string KBC, right? I hope that makes sense. Right? So you can define a variable by anything. I mean, any name you want, right? So you could call a variable FCV or you could call a variable anything, right? Anything. Like, currently it's saying not defined because we are not, giving it any value. Just because until you assign it some value, it would not hold any value, right? It would say it is not defined. Right? Similarly, but if I say FCV equal to 2, and if I say FCV, right, if it was defined earlier, then FCV is 2 now, right? So FCV is now holding the value of 2. Okay. So this is how a variable is assignment is done. A variable is assigned a value, and then that variable then holds that value, right? Holds that specific data type itself. So I'll just give you a simple example. If I was storing a list here, you know, we'll come to list. Again, I'm just jumping it, but let's try to understand. Now FCV is changed and it is a list. And if I had to type the class of FCV, it would tell me that it is a list, right? A standard data type. So only because I had already defined it, I could call it. Here before that I had never defined an FCV, so I could not. It was saying that it is not defined and it was throwing an error. Similarly for this one, right? Okay, so we've now understood that how to define a variable. So there are only a few restrictions as to how you cannot define a variable. Is a number. I mean, you cannot define one as a variable. One is not a variable. It says can't assign to little. Right? Some error. No need to understand this. But basically, you cannot assign something to an integer, right? So you cannot create a variable like one str equal to 2. Right? It would say that I don't understand what this is. Okay. So you cannot use a number, right? Second thing is you cannot use the reserved keywords. You've already seen that you cannot use a reserved keyword as a variable. And that is why we're discussing all of these three in one place, because you have to understand that the reserved keywords cannot be used as variables. Right? X can be a variable, but if X was a reserved keyword in Python, then you would not have used X. You could not. Right? And here is the list of such words. Right? We will come across all of these words in our journey, but false, we already know that it's a Boolean term. Class is a definition. From, again, we do this for module import. So all of these things, are reserved things, which Python has defined. So can't be used as a variable. Again, let's try. Wait, if I say um, in try, let's say try any other. Let's say try. Try equal to 3.5. It would say that invalid syntax because try it could not, I mean, it could not define. Obviously, you can say try underscore one, and that will be valid because try underscore one is not predefined and it can obviously be now used. So defining when you're defining variable, there are one or two conventions. One thing you have to remember that you cannot start it from a number, right? There's any other way you can do, right? You can also capitalize. You can start with a capital letter and say STT equal to one, and STT is. Now I say that I did not capitalize S. It is case sensitive, so variables are case sensitive. So A, B, C equal to 3 and A, B, C equal to 3 are two different things, right? A, B, C, I mean, obviously, right? A, B, C equal to 4, right? So A, B, C is 4 and A, B, C is 3. I think I overtyped something, so this error came, but don't worry, okay? All I'm trying to say is that this ABC is different and this ABC is different. So it is case sensitive. When I assign capital STT as 1 and try to access small STT, it said that STT is not defined because I have not defined it, right? So I can but access STT and that was fine. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Variables make sense, right? So only one thing that you cannot use numbers for any variables, and now the convention. So there are two conventions, right? Now, since Python itself is a high-level language, and it allows you to like let's open any Python code, and see that what it is saying. Even though we would not be able to understand a lot what is written here, but what we can see is that it's simple instructions. It's saying that from some module import this thing, right? It is saying that try this thing, you know, assign a variable to driver, then print something, right? It is here. It is saying that wait for this particular thing for 15 seconds until you have visibility of element located. This one, right? And then other things you execute script, find element by tag name. So you can see that if someone who did not know programming, even then they can make some sense of what it is written here. Right? Okay, that is why uh, what we will discuss. Yeah. So and that is why it is very easy. So the two conventions that I was saying by defining variables is that you can use underscore type thing, like for example here we can see find element by tag name. Here underscores are used. Uh, Obviously this is a function here, but even if I had to define this as a variable, right? I don't know why I cannot copy it. And call it 34, call it 34 and then find element by tag name, it would give me 34, right? So but this convention, how I'm writing it, it has underscores in between, but it obviously shows me that find element by tag name. It is very verbose and easily tells me that what I'm trying to do here, right? So that is what we have to follow. Let's say I have a fruit basket which holds some fruits. So I will say that fruits underscore basket and define the variable as a list where apples are there. And it has some other things like banana, right? So this is my variable fruits basket which holds the values apple and banana, right? So this is one convention where you use underscores in between. Right? Another convention is called camel case. Right? fruits basket. This is one more way, right? There is no hard and fast rule to what I'm saying. I'm just telling you conventions because, you know, ultimately we want to write codes which is easily readable by anyone out there on the web, such that collaboration can be easy, right? And that is why we always want to define variables, and that is how, if I had to, if I had written this a b c and g f, h j, then I would not be able to understand what I've written here, right? If this person has written this ec dot b, then I would never know ec dot bottom, let's say, up, rather than ec dot visibility of, then I would not ever know that what this means. Right. So that is our, aim, that we want to create variables which are verbose and easily readable. And we have two ways we can define, because obviously food basket, one will work, right? But one food basket or two fruit basket, one will not work. Right? So we have these conditions, these two. Here what we are doing, we are starting with a small case and the next word, right? So if I had to write full basket list, right, I would write it like this. So I can see that B is capitalized and L is capitalized. So quickly I can see that, yeah, full fruits basket list it is written. I'm doing all of this only to, for others to help them understand this food, right? Other ways like this, fruits basket list and says apple. Right? So this is another way. I'm only writing it like this so that others can understand. So without spending more time, let's proceed. Okay. Variables we have defined, reserved keywords we have seen, and white space characters. So white space characters are simple slash n slash t. So let's say in the original script I wrote here, right, text sample. Right. If I was also doing print, you know, slash n, right, and here I would say that str. No need to make sense of it, but just try to understand what I'm doing. And say tab, you know, saying tab. Okay. So now let's see what it does. Okay, I'll just open one more console window here, such that it is. Where was it? It's, okay. So here I just type that same thing, Python. What is it? Sample.py and a number, right? 24. Now I can see that, what happened is it is not, coming one line by line. It is, you can see that here it is a whole line, you know, like two lines here, right? Yeah, sticker. Yeah, so I've seen, yeah, actually this is right. I mean, this one is called camel case or snake case. I mean, not really sure which one is said. It's just that this b resembles a hump, so that is why it's called camel case. Can be called snake case as well. And the second request is for, uh, anyway, I think chat is here. Yeah. Ramesh can't see me. Right. So Ramesh ji, can you see my screen now? Can you see this command line window now? Here.
Hello, now it's showing participants list. Just a moment.
Participants list.
Yeah.
Uh, can you see the command line window now?
Mm, no, actually. Actually, previously it was visible, but the last line was behind my toolbar. So just
Let me
yeah,
reshare it.
not
Can you see it now?
yeah. This is visible correctly, but that one, your previous command line, command prompt.
I think I've shared my full screen,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not like I've shared
yeah.
particular
This
one.
is visible correctly.
Uh,
Yeah,
Acha, this one
yeah.
is not visible.
This one you have to just
Ah,
minimize, just reduce.
right. I think I got it. Let
Yeah,
me see. This thing,
yeah.
right?
Now it's okay. Yeah.
So, but did you miss anything, sir? Should I repeat?
No, no. The thing is that
Right. Okay. So let's proceed because simply. So I was just saying that should I proceed, right?
yeah, yeah, correct. You can.
Okay. So I was just saying that I did some characters I had put, and because of that I saw that a new line was printed. That is what I did here, right? Along with that, I was also printing some tab. You know, so the tab number is coming somewhere here, right? So basically, these are like white space characters. You can see that it is only showing some white space. That is why it is called white space characters. So it is just used for normal formatting or new line. That's what we did, just right now. Okay, so it is very simple thing to understand. It's just a small thing. Anyway, it's not used much only when you want to format or do something. Let's proceed to advanced data types now. Okay. Uh, so here we have three data types. Okay, we have lists. Okay, we have dictionary and we have sets. There is one more data type called stacks, but that is just an extension of lists. So we don't need to discuss it separately, and it is not relevant for this class as well. So if we only understand these three, I think we will be able to understand any other advanced data type, or what we call data structures. Okay. Data structures are basically built using basic data types which are defined in a programming language. So I think all of you would have heard that data structures and algorithms, right? So data structures are basically built using these small data structures, data types, right? So anyway, you would have heard of linked list, stacks, queues. All of those things are double linked list. Those are big data structures, but not we would not use it, and we don't need to understand that. So let's proceed with lists. Right? So it is basically a collection, right? Collection of a data type. So let's say I have a lot of fruits, right? Fruit names, and I want to just define a variable called fruit list to hold three of them, right? So if I want to use a list, right, it's up to me, right, how I want to store it. I could have stored it in fruit list 1, fruit list 2, and fruit list 3, right? Three different variables I could have defined to hold apple, mango, as well as banana. But what is the advantage here? Advantage is that I could define it in one simple collection, right? And that is why I'm using list. So, I mean, we use a particular data type for a particular operation. I mean, we do not define any data type just for the sake of it. I mean, I could define it three different data types, but I only define it this way, such that if there is a fourth data type coming, I mean, entry also coming here, then that can also be added. Obviously, if I had defined it 1, 2, 3, then I would have to separately define the fourth one to hold that value, right? So list has this advantage that once you define it, you can manipulate it, right? Okay, so hmm, one thing I would like to go back that I think we forgot discussing is the string type, right? We discussed many of these stuff, but let's do one or two operations, which will just give us some more idea about how strings work. Okay, so string, right? If I say ABC, right, this is a string. Okay, let's define a longer string and let's define it to some variable. I will call it long string. Okay, and I'll just assign a value of you know something. Okay, so this is my string, long string, right? What I simply wanted to show here was that you can manipulate a string in Python, right? So if you had to, right, do a substring from second to fourth element of this list, you could have simply typed this. Okay, so we all know that uh, the entries in computer programming languages, they start from zero in like array entries. If you all know what an array is again a collection of objects, okay, collection of data types, which is in Python list serve that purpose. Obviously, there is one more data type called array, but we will only see list for now. Array is again like a wrapper on list. So ultimately, the basic data type is list. Okay. So in arrays, what we do that to access any element, we access it using the index. Similarly, in Python, whenever you define a string, it is indexed by default so that you know, you can extract any particular element out of it. So what I'm trying to say here is that if I said long string and I wanted the third element, 0, 1, 2, 3, third element, so I could have just said 3 and I would have got J, right? The third element, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Similarly, if some I wanted to get last element, I could have done -1. So last element is minus S, right? And here I've got that. Okay. So I mean these operations obviously we will do many times, but the idea is that why I'm showing it here is that we can see that the string has all the properties of an array, right? I mean you can access each of the elements of this string by a particular index number. That index number is, nothing but the position at which that element is there, right? So that is how I did. Now this particular thing that I've written here, I mean, this is fine that I want to access the third one, but what is this? This is called, slicing, string slicing. What I said that from this string long string say, I wanted to slice the string from 14th character to 30th character. I don't know if 30 characters are there, but let's try. So yeah, there are 30 characters and it gave me 14 to 29th character, right? EG. This particular sorry this one. This particular area substring it returned me. So I could do string slicing. right? I could just tell it that which numbers from how it is. It's like you you say the string and you define a start position and you define the end position, right? So if I said that A, B, C, and I would say, I don't know if this works, this one. So I mean, yeah, it worked because this is a string, right? And we are putting a start and we are not putting any end. Obviously, I will explain this also, right? But 1 to 2 gives me B, right? And 1 to 3 gives me BC. Okay. 0 to 3 gives me ABC. Right? So on 0 position I have A, on 1 position I have B, on second position I have C, on third position I have nothing. Right? So start and end minus 1. Okay. So whatever position you will put here as start and whatever position you will put here as end, it would calculate the string start to end minus 1. This colon is called 2. Okay. I hope it makes sense. You know? So these are 2 or 3 things that I just wanted to let you know before we go into list, because lists have very similar, I mean, operations. You can do string slicing, you can do indexing, you know? You can access the last element of the list like this, you know? You can uh, do sublisting, take a small set out of that. So all of these things you can do, right? How this happens behind, we don't need to know, but simply it just assigns index to all of these characters, right? And then you can simply access using those indexes. Okay, so let's proceed. Strings में ये होता है. So this is a some special feature in Python for strings. Okay, not all languages have this. R also have this. So some languages, have this kind of feature where you can directly access a particular element of a list. So that is what we wanted to see here. That in list also we have very similar operations. Okay, so let me define this root list once. Root list equal to apple, banana, and mango, and cherry. Let's say I have these 4 elements in this list, right? So similarly, what happens here is that all of these elements are assigned some indexes. So this one is 0th index, this one is first index, this one is second, and this one is third. Right? Also, we said here that list is a collection of a data type. So basically, all of these data types are what? Strings, right? This particular list only holds strings, right? All of these numbers are strings. I could not do this. I just did it. Right, we can do it here, not with tuples. So but there is one more. Anyway, so first let's discuss this, then we'll discuss tuple. So anyway, what I'm saying that here you can do similar operations that you can do on a string to access it, right? What I was saying is that basically you can manipulate a list, right? And there is one more data type called tuple, which is very similar to list. We'll just see that, but let's do some operations on this. So let's say I wanted to get the first element called apple. So I would just say list 0 and it would give me an apple. Okay? If I wanted to access last element, again, mango. Right? If I wanted to access 0 to second, I mean 0 and 1. Okay, 0 and 1. I would just do this and I would get 0 and 1. Right? If if I wanted to do an operation like this, fruit list plus fruit list, let's see what would happen. It would just combine all of them. Okay. So such kind of operations is possible with list, right? Okay. So what happens is that it just adds those numbers here. So it is very easy to do some concatenation here. It is very similar to string in the sense that if I say A, B, C plus E, F, G, it gives me A, B, C, E, F, G. So almost all the elements, I mean, not almost, but majorly all the features, not features, but operations that you can do with a string, you can also do with a list. Okay. So if I said, you know, long string,
Hello.
yeah,
Actually, I'm unable to get this fruit list 0 and 1. I'm not
this
able
one,
to get.
right?
Yeah, in my
So
CMD.
can
Fruit.
you can you
Under,
share your screen?
yeah, just a moment. Host disable participant screen sharing. Yes.
Can you allow speaker?
You are the host. I can you can fix that.
But how to do that?
Hmm. Host disable participant screen list. Who is a host? Host
I
is,
am I am the host.
yeah.
So
So just go to screen sharing and share screen and disable your screen.
go to share screen. I think I've already. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, you go to share screen
Uh,
and disable screen sharing so that
disable screen
I
share.
can, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've
Please,
done that.
please.
Yeah, you can share
Okay,
now.
now yeah, uh, this one.
हाँ, तो ऐसा हुआ है ना, आपने ये देखिए क्या किया है, पहले फ्रूट लिस्ट डिफाइन की, एप्पल बनाना मैंगो, फिर से फ्रूट लिस्ट डिफाइन की एप्पल बनाना मैंगो, और फिर से फ्रूट लिस्ट डिफाइन की एप्पल बनाना मैंगो, ठीक है। तीनों बार अभी तक क्या
Mm-hmm.
था, यहाँ तक थर्ड लाइन तक द फ्रूट लिस्ट जो ऑब्जेक्ट था, वेरिएबल था, उसके पास उसको पता था कि मेरे पास जो मेरे को जो स्टोर करना है वो है एप्पल बनाना मैंगो, ठीक है। पर फोर्थ लाइन में क्या हुआ कि आपने उस लिस्ट, बेसिकली ये तो वेरिएबल है ना, ये तो वैल्यू पे चेंज कर सकता है, आपने उसकी वैल्यू रीसाइन
Mm-hmm.
करके 0 डाल दी, ठीक है।
Zero कर दिया.
एक
Okay,
ही,
okay.
और ये जो,
Yeah,
हाँ ठीक है, अब क्या
understood.
हुआ, आपने 0 जिस कर दिया इसको, हाँ राइट राइट, सो ये हुआ।
Mm.
एक ही बार करना है, एक ही बार
Okay, एक ही बार करना है क्या?
असाइनमेंट, आप एक ही बार कर सकते हैं असाइनमेंट, दो दो तीन बार मैंने बस वो एग्जांपल्स के लिए दिखाया है, ठीक है।
ओके, ठीक है.
हाँ
एप्पल आ
अब आ
गया.
गया, राइट।
हम्म.
हाँ तो ये बेसिकली
ओके.
क्या है, इंडेक्सिंग है। आपको अगर सेकंड एलिमेंट चाहिए तो आप फ्रूट लिस्ट 1 कर देंगे, राइट। बस इसीलिए आपने यहाँ पे असाइनमेंट कर दिया था, इसलिए ऐसा हो गया, ठीक है।
ओके, ओके. गॉट इट. मैं स्टॉप करता
ठीक है
हूँ.
सर, आई विल स्टार्ट शेयरिंग माय स्क्रीन नाउ।
या यू कैन.
सो So we are
No,
back
no,
here.
no. I was not able to getting that. Like sir ने 3 बार apple, banana, mango किया and fourth line he wrote fruitless 0. So why we didn't get
हाँ,
apple as an answer over there?
right, right. So I will explain here. Here, see it.
Okay.
Okay, what I did was I said fruit list. है ना? This was the, let's say, okay, let me just restart this one so that it would make sense. Okay, so अभी मैं देखता हूँ कि मेरे पास फ्रूट लिस्ट पहले से है या नहीं है. ठीक है, तो नहीं है बेसिकली, अभी तक मैंने डिफाइन नहीं किया, राइट. दिस इज फाइन. अब मैं फ्रूट लिस्ट डिफाइन कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है, और फ्रूट लिस्ट में मैं बोल रहा हूँ एप्पल, ठीक है, बनाना एंड मैंगो, राइट. अंटिल दिस पॉइंट अब क्या हुआ है, अगर मैं फ्रूट लिस्ट यहाँ पे प्रिंट करता हूँ, अगर मैं देखूँ कि फ्रूट लिस्ट है क्या, आई कैन सी दैट नाउ फ्रूट लिस्ट वेरिएबल होल्ड्स दीज वैल्यूज. ठीक है,
Correct.
करेक्ट. अब नाउ व्हाट आई डिड वाज, अब मैंने फ्रूट लिस्ट को बोला भाई तुम बनाना मैंगो एप्पल नहीं हो, तुम हो एबीसी. ठीक है, तुम हो एबीसी. ठीक है, तो फ्रूट लिस्ट को मैंने फिर से पूछा अब क्या हो तुम, तो उसने बोला एबीसी. ठीक है, तो फ्रूट लिस्ट चेंज इट्स वैल्यू, ठीक है, फ्रॉम बीइंग अ लिस्ट टू इट टू बिकमिंग अ स्ट्रिंग, राइट. मैंने क्या किया, फ्रूट लिस्ट को बोला कि भाई तुम कुछ नहीं हो, तुम वन हो. ठीक है, तो फ्रूट लिस्ट नाउ इज वन, राइट. सर ने क्या किया, सर ने बोला कि भाई सॉरी, फ्रूट लिस्ट तुम क्या हो, तुम एक लिस्ट हो, ठीक है, जिसमें तुम हो 0. ओके, ये किया सर ने. अगर सर ने ऐसा किया होता, ठीक है, तो बेसिकली पूरा लिस्ट स्टेट करे, वहां पे क्या किया सर ने, सिर्फ ऐसे डिफाइन किया, एक लिस्ट जिसके अंदर एक ही एलिमेंट है 0. अब सिंस मेरे पास एक ही एलिमेंट है, होगा क्या, जब मैं इसका पहला एलिमेंट एक्सेस करने की कोशिश करूंगा विच इज 0, तो मेरे पास आ जाएगा 0, राइट. एप्पल ही आएगा, बिकॉज एक तो मैं इसको चेंज कर चुका हूँ वेरिएबल को, असाइनमेंट चेंज कर चुका हूँ, इनके कई बार असाइन करके इसके टाइप चेंज कर चुका हूँ, राइट. दैट्स ऑल द फंडा ऑफ द वेरिएबल दैट यू कैन चेंज, राइट. इट इज जस्ट अ होल्डर ऑफ द वैल्यू ऑफ अ डेटा टाइप. रेमी, आपको समझ में आया?
Got it. Thank you. Got it.
ठीक है, सो लेट्स प्रोसीड. आई थिंक अभी आज के लिए हम सिर्फ डिस्कस करेंगे डेटा टाइप्स, बिकॉज थोड़ा टाइम भी हो गया. तो अभी क्विकली लेट्स डिस्कस. ठीक है, तो हमने डिस्कस किया कि लिस्ट, अब लिस्ट में हम ये डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि हम कैसे एक्सेस करना चाहते हैं. ठीक है, एक तो हमने देख लिया कि हम सीधा सीधा उसका इंडेक्स दे करके कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, बट व्हाट इफ मेरे को इंडेक्स नहीं पता था और एप्पल पता था, ठीक है, या मैंगो पता था, ठीक है, राइट, और मुझे ये पता करना है कि वो कहाँ पर है, मतलब 1 पे है, 0 पे है, 2 पे है, 3 पे है. तो मैंने क्या बोला, अब एक बार मैं फिर से डिफाइन करूंगा फ्रूट लिस्ट, क्योंकि अभी 0 पर है. ठीक है, तो फ्रूट लिस्ट, मान लो मेरे को नहीं पता था कि मैंगो कहाँ पर है, तो मैं ऐसे बोल सकता था. ठीक है, and it would tell me that 0, 1, 2 at second position mango is available. ठीक है, so this way I can also find the index of a particular element, right. Here we can see that again string also follows the same convention, and you can find the index of any element. C has 2, A has 0. Okay, so we're just trying to simply see that what it kind of looks like. More more advanced operations we will do, okay, in the coming sessions. Okay, so let's discuss dictionary, because this is all list is about. It is basically a collection of many data types, okay, in one. So what I was so now let's discuss a dictionary. What a dictionary is. Dictionary is simply you can say a mapping, right? Uh, it's like any dictionary that you would have seen in life in बचपन में जो देखा होगा. So what a dictionary has is it has a key, and then it has let's say English to Hindi dictionary, it would have the meaning, right? So the meaning is mapped to the uh, the word. So we have word and we have meaning. In any simple Hindi to English dictionary, we have word and then we have meaning. So what it basically represents is a mapping. That meaning is mapped to that word, right? Okay. So whenever we want to present a mapping, right? I mean, we want to store data such that it is mapped. We so the सबसे basic data type is dictionary, because it is a key value pair kind of data type. Right? As I have just explained it here, fruits list is equal to name, and a name is a key. Let's say this was a dictionary, right? And I had to, let me take a small example here. Let's say I have a man, name name है उसका Anup, and sorry, name है Anup, age है 27, और प्लेस है चंडीगढ़. ठीक है. So okay, so now I want to store this particular data. Okay, and let's say I have a woman also. Name I will just keep Anu. Okay, and the rest of the things the same. Okay, so right, let's call it 25, and let's call it Tiwari. Okay, I want to represent this particular data into a format such that it is easy for me to manipulate it later, right? This is again a strategy decision. Obviously, I could have created a variable called man name, and assigned it to a Anup string, right? So I'm just defining one of the ways I could have, defined it: man age equal to 27, and man base equal to Chandigarh, right? To get the idea what I'm trying to say. And similarly, women age, just copy it here, and women, uh, sorry, right, women age. So this is another way I could, define it. But you see what I've done here. I had to use, obviously this thing I could ignore, but otherwise I took it in the variable name itself, and somehow I defined these 6 variables to hold this data. Right. Now if I want to manipulate this data, I will have to access all of these variables one by one, right? And these are fixed. I cannot add more variables to this particular data set that I have. So what I will do is that the better way for me to express this data is in the form of dictionary, right? So dictionary is, again, I mean, simply it is also a collection, but it is a collection of key value pairs, right? Every value has a key, right? Basically, this word has a meaning. If we look it from a dictionary perspective, right? Again, it is a collection. So how we would define it? So let's say I call a dictionary name. Again, that will also be a variable, right? Let's call this variable uh, features, human features, right? And features of human, right? I can see that I have a gender, I have a name, I have a age, and I have a place. So what would have been a better way was if I had defined a dictionary. So this is how we define dictionary. Like, you know, lists, how we define lists, uh, list, we define like this, square brackets. Okay. Dictionaries we define by curly brackets, right? Curly brackets start and curly brackets close. Okay. Now I want to hold all of this data in one variable. How I would do is that I could define gender, you know, as a list and could call it man, right? And you know uh, women. And now each of these could have been like this. I'm building a complex one, but that's fine, just for understanding. Uh, right. So let's understand this, what's happening here. But let's do it like this so that even it's better for us to understand. So what happened was, it's basically key value pairs, right? So there is a key, I have defined a key, and then I have defined a value to that key. Okay. That value is basically a type of list, and that list again contains dictionaries. Okay. Now it was a man, gender has already been defined. What it had was a name, right? Name I could call Anup, right? Then we had uh, age, age. I could define it as 27, and then we had birthplace, okay, and could call it Chandigarh, right? So how this helps? Let me just copy it once. Okay. So now we can see that I was able to define this whole data into one variable, and now I can manipulate this variable however I like. I could, you know, say that get me the value of gender. Okay, let's try this on command line. Okay, so I was just trying to explain that why dictionary is useful is because let's say you want to represent a very complex data, express a very complex data, then you could express it like this, and it has obviously some features that we will understand now, right? So let's define this dictionary quickly here. I don't know why it's not pasting. It is not pasting. I think this has been defined correctly. This is fine. Mm, it's not taking multi-line, so just put it in one line. Till now, I hope it is clear what I'm trying to explain. Hello? Not even pasting. I think we'll move forward here and use some simple dictionary. I don't know why it is not. Uh, it is showing some error here. This is correctly defined dictionary, but I don't know why it is showing some error. Can anyone see if
In
they can
woman,
find some?
after name you can give a space before the age.
Huh?
Age after
Okay. This one. No, no, sorry. Sorry.
not years. Okay. Age
Place.
uh,
Age. That is fine, but just okay. I think this is defined fine. I don't know
mm,
what it is.
once you try now.
It's just waiting, wasting a bit of our time. So let's do it with some simple one. We'll obviously use more complex dictionaries, but let's, for the sake of time right now, let's not waste it and see some similar examples, simpler. Let's say I define a dictionary called calories, and I define how many calories all of these things apple, banana contains. So I'll just define a simple one. Okay. I'll say banana and we'll assign 89 calories and choco and assign some 546 calories, right? So now what I can see that this one is fine. If I type the type of calories, I can find that it is a dictionary, right? So, I mean, we can see that similarly we defined here, but we'll check, and again, we will, since we'll use more complex dictionaries later. So, I think At that time we'll be able to. I can't find what is the issue here, but let's okay. Right. So now how can I access? Let's say I wanted to see the calories contained in banana. So how do we do it in dictionary? We say calories and call banana. Right. Calories, square bracket start, the name of the key and enter, and you will get the value, right? So ultimately what happens, why do we see a dictionary, is that we want, what is our purpose to see a Hindi to English dictionary? We want to get the value, right? Ultimately what value of the word is there, we want to get that, right? Similarly we want to access 89, the calories present in banana, so we do it like this, right? Similarly choco, you would get choco, sorry, choco, right? You will get 5.6 calories. So this is how you simply uh, you know uh, get the values. Okay. uh, let's say you wanted to check if apples or banana or choco is present in the keys. So these are called keys and these are called values. It's a key value pair. It is separated by a column, right? The key and value. Let's say I wanted to check if banana is present in keys. So I would simply do that if banana, is present in calories dot keys. Okay, right? So we will understand that it says true, right? Because banana is present in calories, right? So this is how we can access or check some of the things, right? This will get more clear when we will also do some operations on uh, dictionaries, more complex operations. We will understand what keys are and how to get, values, right? If I wanted to iterate or basically print all of them once, then I could have said something like this. I'll just be a fast because I think time is more, has become more now. So I'll just show you how this works, and then I think next all of things we'll do in next session, right? So for KV calories dot keys, right? I say uh, we'll also have to understand what this indentation error is. We have not yet discussed. It is actually a feature of Python. So I'll say print K, right? And this that release dot keys and print K, right? Let's say I also put a condition here if the value is greater than 500, else okay, no. What was it saying? Sorry, there is one issue. It's items, not keys. Sorry, I also forgot some of these things. So it gave me all the keys which were there. Similarly, I could have printed values. So I'm just iterating over these, right? And the last thing that we have is a set. Okay, set is basically an unordered collection of unique elements, right? So if we pass a big list and a big collection of data, like a list where some of the elements are repeating, right? So the set would only consists of the unique elements out of that list, right? And set has very similar operations. Set we do not need to explore a lot because we will only use lists and dictionaries. But yeah, set is an important data type because since it holds an unordered collection of unique elements, it is useful in writing many algorithms, right? So I think we still had some more stuff to discuss today, but I think we can continue it tomorrow because of the time constraint that we had. Also today some time was wasted due to initially connections. So I think uh, we will try to not waste it from tomorrow. So yeah, I think for today we can conclude till here. Our pace was very slow, but I think and I hope that until now, whatever we have discussed, it was clear to everyone. So I would like to request everyone that if they want to discuss something or have any doubts, so we can discuss it now, right? So that's it for today. Okay, so does anyone have any doubt? So I hope it is whatever was explained until now is clear to everyone. Please write yes once if until now it is clear to everyone. Just please write yes once. That's great. Okay, great, great. Rest everyone. Remy and others. Great, 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 great. So I think um, our objective for today was to learn some basics of Python, and I think we have made some progress on the basic, things that are there in Python. And these are like building blocks because these are basic topics. If I had to open this code, which was for web scraping, now I have a pretty good understanding of what this means. This is here a variable, right? This I am taking a command line in argument from outside, right? This there is another variable, right? And here we have a list of lists, right? This is a list. Here we can see that there is some list operation happening. There is this loop here, right? And ultimately there is some file handling and exception handling. So ultimately, all if we know of all these small things, then it is very easy for us to understand and write our own codes later. But I hope it makes sense. So that is all from my side for today. I think we can conclude this session now.